All right, we're gonna get things started right away. I know you guys want to hear this one because it's about pitching, and pitching leads to good things. So I'm gonna get out of the way and let them introduce themselves. But let's welcome them for coming out here today.
So I guess I'll start. Hi everyone. My name is Amanda Chan. I'm the co-founder of a small board game publishing company called Game and Curry. I also write, design, and pitch to other board game and tabletop RPG companies.
Hi, my name is Tim Walsh. I own a company called Rue Games. I've written 3 books about toys and toy inventors, and produced 2 documentary films on toy and game designers. So I'm a big fan of designers, and also pitch companies games that don't fit our company. So, and I worked for a toy company for 9 years and received pitches from inventors for 9 years. So I've been on both sides of the table.
Hey everyone, I'm Shlasinger. I founded Z-Man Games, and now I work for WizKids as the director of board games.
So I think for this panel, we're just going to open it up to questions. So if anyone has a game they, are thinking about publishing or pitching to a publisher, I think it's more valuable for all of us if you have questions, so we know what you want.
Don't be shy, raise your hands.
Wasn't expecting a test.
I'll answer. So there's a lot of different avenues, I suppose, for getting a game published. Obviously, a lot of people think Kickstarter is the primary place to go. There's self-publishing, and then there's publishing on demand companies that give you a percentage. Then, at some level, the holy grail is probably getting published by an enormous company that's going to put in every Walmart. What are those different scales, and how do you prioritize where to send yourself?
So I guess it's dependent on what you want for your game. So are you looking to make it a product? Are you looking to put it onto Kickstarter? Are you looking to publish it through another publisher? I think there are different avenues, right? Like you said, if you want to self-publish something that was like a small tabletop RPG that is very experimental and it's going to go through several phases, itch.io would be a great place to start. You can put your game out there in its rawest form, and people will give you money for it. And as you develop it, you can collect more funds that way. Same with Patreon, you can ask people for money to work on this game. They'll release different variations of it. If you're thinking about bigger publishing,
Let me just go back on the one thing. If you mentioned Kickstarter, of course, that's a viable thing, and maybe you can put it on demand. The one thing you need to ask yourself, do you want to be a designer or do you want to be a publisher yourself? There are different sets of skills there. There's a lot of work in both things, but certainly you have to decide, especially if you want Kickstarter or something, to know how to handle a Kickstarter campaign, know about production, know about logistics, and so on and so forth. It's a big thing. So once you decide what you want to be, designer or publisher, then you can sort of choose the avenue from there. Speaking in terms of the title of the panel, or this thing where it says, pitching to publishers, it's approaching a publisher that you feel would be right for your game for whatever reason, maybe things they've published in the past, or a relationship that you had, or you're just taking a shot in the dark. It's just a matter of knowing the publisher, how to contact them. Are they seeking, designs, and how? Do they have the submission form online? Can you meet them at a convention? Can you meet them at a show like this? That's pretty much how you would decide on approaching a publisher first.
And I would just add to what Zeb said, I would ask the question, what am I good at? And what do I enjoy? Because personally, I love designing games. I hate warehousing, shipping, and collecting from stores. Hate it. So if you don't mind that, then being your own publisher and doing that, because that's the vast amount of your time that you're going to be spending doing that, actively selling your game. I found out early in my career that I was much happier designing the next game than doing all those things that I mentioned.
Are publishers looking for a maybe all the design will be replaced with different designs, sometimes for licensing reasons, or our publishers looking to put a big imprint on them, and feel like it's theirs. Does the publisher say, "What a great idea"? Yeah, I'm going to change it into my version of your free.
So from my experience, and I think this goes across all types of publishers, you don't need a polished prototype. And when I mean polished, meaning the art does not have to be there, the graphic design does not have to be there. It should be a good working prototype with clear rules and clear components, but you do not have to provide any of the other things. Now, obviously, we're humans, we're very visual. If you make a nice prototype that could elevate the esteem of the game in the publisher's eyes, or at least give them a good idea of the direction you're thinking, but you don't need to make it like here, and the publisher, once you take it, you just gotta take this and go to market. The publisher is gonna be putting their stamp on it in many, 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 many ways.
Yeah, and also with pitching to a publisher, if you're pitching like a prototype, eventually there might be changes, right, in development, in adding artwork or moving different things. The onus when you send it to a publisher, the onus is on them to make it a complete product. So don't spend like too much effort into it, but do spend a little bit of effort.
In 30 years, I've never heard of a designer's art being used in the final game, ever. I mean, if you're a student at Ringling and you're immensely talented, perhaps, but I've had designers say, "Oh, I paid someone $5,000 to do this art," and it's like, well, all that money should have went to playtesting and making sure the rules are solid and not toward design, because the chances of your art being used is very, very small.
Keep asking questions. How interested are publishers in products where you have a potential for a niche interest? So my point being, gamers is a big, broad category. If you had a game that was all about flowers and you thought every florist in America was going to want a copy of it, just pull it out. But it's not about flowers. But I'll tell you what mine's about.
That's marketing.
Yeah.
But I think unless that publisher had a license, so let's go with use that as a license. Let's say you had a Star Wars game, for example. Then you might want to approach the publisher that has a Star Wars license. And then they can consider it and say, yeah, this is a good Star Wars game. I always tell people if someone wants to approach me with a license that they know we have, to make sure it works generically in case I don't think it works as that license, or we can't get that license again, or the licensor says, no, we don't want a game like that. So you want to make sure that it works on its own. In terms of an age bracket or any other type of game, I think very few publishers limit themselves to one particular niche. There may be, but you'd have to seek them out and help them fill that niche. But that's very difficult to design for.
Yeah, and I also think, like, theme-wise, if you're making a game about flowers, there are games out there that are about flowers, or there's Succulent that's being published by Renegade, and I don't know when it's coming out. But there are games with strange themes, and I think people enjoy that, right? People are looking for new, different themes. Flowers are probably the new zombies right now. So.
Yeah, as far as, so I've been pitched in my former life, a wine tasting game, a football game, and the pitch was, do you know how many people watch football? I'm going to sell 1,000 million of these, or a fisherman's game. And in my experience, people that like wine like drinking wine, not playing a game about wine, and people that like to fish want to fish, not play a board game about fishing. So a theme is different than a game all about a topic. The flower theme, I'm sure, I haven't played that game, but I'm sure it's a broad, it's not about buying and selling flowers. It's broader than that.
Does trying to initially self-publish or running a Kickstarter or even getting a small base of sales So your brand does exist in the marketplace. Does that hinder you with getting a publisher later on? Have you already shot your opportunity with a publisher? If you've spent a year getting a small number of sales, but now you say, oh, you know, whatever, 100 sales a year, it's not really so great.
I understand. So right now, the WizKids policy is if it was crowdfunded, you won't look at it.
Yeah.
And
And why is
there's
that?
many X factors as to why, but that's not true of all publishers.
Right. I don't know any publishers off the top of my head right now, but generally speaking, if it's already been crowdfunded, chances are a little similar with some publishers. Just because they, you know, have their own branding and everything. That's. Oh, actually, no. Breaking Games did this one game. I think it was Moonquake Escape. That was crowdfunded. I believe. Don't quote me on that.
There are some. There
Yeah,
are some
there
that
are
have
some.
been.
Yeah, but it's, like I said, a slimmer chance because of branding and marketing and everything.
Is Board Game Geek a good entry to try to get a game published?
They're not publishers.
They're not.
No, Board Game Geek, no, they're not publishers.
They just like a place, a
It's a
platform.
database. It's a database of information. I mean, you can market, you know, with banners and stuff, but it's basically a very large, very nice database and community and so on, but they're not publishers.
But if you did want to see like what's up and coming or what's popular right now, the hotness is a great way to look at it. So if you go on to boardgamegeek.com, on the side you'll see the hotness and it'll rate, you know, all the things that are popular.
But I'll say, design what you like. You know, that's the only way you can be the best at it. The game that you want to see, and then hopefully you'll find somebody to follow a trend, because don't forget, by the time you design it, it's ready, whatever, that trend could be totally gone, you know, oversaturated and whatnot. So just, yeah, design what makes you happy.
No more color.
What kind of things are publishers not looking for?
Everyone's different. Every publisher's different.
Well, I know, for example, Roll and Move is currently badly out of fashion.
No, I mean, there are some publishers that are probably still signing, I would say Roll and Move, not Roll and Write, I apologize. Only, with the Roll and Move is a different thing, I guess because it seems old fashioned, but I bet if somebody came up with a great twist on it, you might find an interest in it. But yeah, some of the very old fashioned type of mechanics is not usually regarded by an established publisher. But every publisher is different in what they're seeking.
One of the things I'm sure they're not looking for is something that's already out there.
Yeah.
So I've been pitched, this is a great game where you draw and you have to guess what people are drawing. It's like, well, it's called Pictionary. And so you really need to do your due diligence, and Board Game Geek is actually a great place to go to find out, I've got this game idea, is there anything else like it? And searching it on Board Game Geek will help you, oh, geez, that's been done 3 times, so maybe this isn't the best or most original idea.
Yeah,
Well,
plenty
well-
of- oh, sorry.
Will a publisher tell you that, like, I'm sorry that there's a game out there like that, and I can't go ahead and move forward with your game?
I certainly,
That's
they
part of
don't
their
waste
marketing.
your time, yeah.
If we know about it, sure, we'll mention it.
Right.
And then you can look it up and then say, well, you know what, here's how mine differs from that. And if there's enough of a difference, because obviously there are a lot of, area control games. There's a lot of, area majority games. There's a lot of different mechanics in games. But if you have twists that make it very different, there's a potential there. But like you said, if you draw and that, now if you said, well, yeah, everyone's blindfolded and it's like, maybe that's something of interest. But then again, okay, no, that's not so good. So yes, if you can find many differences from something that's out there, then they may open up and consider it possible.
Yeah, so a good point is Telestrations is a game that's selling quite well in the mass market. It's a drawing game, but it's a drawing game meets the telephone game. So it was enough of a twist to create something new. So,
And just to follow up, so then would that be really a marketing decision by the publishing company to say we don't, or is it a legal, concern that, it's a trademark infringement, copyright infringement, or it's just strictly, this isn't different enough, in our opinion, that we should go forward with it?
I think it's more of a marketing thing. So there, legal stuff, there's no copywriting mechanics, right? You can't really copyright mechanics. But if I were to say, I want to pitch a game that's Cards Against Humanity, but wait, it's different art, then that's just Cards Against Humanity, right?
Right.
Like a publisher's not going to want to pick that up.
Okay. And so then is there like a way to protect yourself when you go to multiple publishers and give them your idea, play their game, and to, rather than, you know, I was turned down over here, but then 5 months later you see the exact same game?
So I'll say you do not have to spend any money protecting your game. We're a small industry. If somebody steals a game, it's generally going to be known. And in the 20 years I've been in the business, if it's happened, maybe once, if at all, but I've not really heard it happening at all. And I've had multiple pitches. I've had people pitch games to, many other publishers, and I tell designers don't spend money copywriting. And like Banana said, you can't copyright mechanics anyway, so there's not much help there. But generally, I've not heard of any publisher ripping off a designer.
I appreciate that. I just come from the pharmaceutical business, so.
That's more cutthroat. I understand that. It's also because of the money that's involved there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't really have to worry.
So would it be necessary to alter your pitch according to the publisher or the person?
It depends on, I mean, yeah, I guess, well, let's see, you have to know the personality of the publisher. I mean, I guess it would really be speaking to anyone. If you know the publisher has a light for something or a focus on something and your game sort of finds that, you would stress that part more, right? I mean, beyond that, I don't know how else you would alter your game design is your game design. I don't know what you would change.
I guess it's sort of like writing a cover letter, right? So if, a publisher, like you said, is known for this type of thing, then you could just sort of alter your pitch. If it's written, then alter it. Make note of, all these different games that they've published. Hey, my game sort of fits in your theme. Why not try this out? I know publishers really like videos, so sometimes having just like a playthrough helps, so you get a sense of what the game is like.
I would say the one thing that you should do, no matter who you're pitching, is get to the play as fast as you can. Especially the pitches where people start talking about themselves, about their credentials, and it's like he wants you to get to the play, or they'll set the scene for their game and start telling the narrative of the game and say, well, it's 1845. and they go into this long story. So if you can get to the play as fast as you can, you'll win points with anyone you're pitching.
And to on top of that, this was something I was going to say at some point. So here's a good thing. You've always heard about the elevator pitch. So these are the things you want to say almost right away. Who are you? What are you doing? How do you win? That's probably the fastest way to describe your game. And if it's interesting, then the publisher will say, okay, tell me more. But those are the three things you probably want to bring across immediately.
Well, I was just going to jump on Banana's comment about it. In my experience, every company wants a video. Every single company wants a video. And you're in front of someone, as soon as you leave the room, they don't have anything. But if they have a video, a succinct video of the gameplay, that's really needed for every company that I've pitched.
No, so I'll modify that because video is very hard to do. A sell sheet.
Yes.
That's the thing you need. So that is when you do leave, you are left with a sell sheet. So at least there's something to remind the publisher, oh yeah, I remember that game. And and plus you have a lot of information there. So yeah, we don't require a video, but a sell sheet is something I always ask for.
So I'm just jumping off of that. For tabletop RPG companies, they also ask for white papers. So a white paper is basically a summary of not just mechanics, but theme and what is the game about. So this is a little separate from board game design, board game publishing. But if you were to do a tabletop RPG, that could be something that you can think about. And if you were to meet someone in real life, like not on the online context, then something that I like doing is using a vision board. So having all of your parts, all your components laid out in a vision board and pitching it that way to a publisher is visually appealing, and they have something to read by.
Going on, so let's get back on also on pitching. So, how do you contact a publisher? And I mentioned a little bit before. So, you can check if a publisher has an online submission form, and usually they'll have a field that tell you the information they're seeking. If you know a publisher is attending a convention, you can try to contact that publisher beforehand and see if you can seek out a meeting. And then, of course, going to shows like this, which are I call prototype shows or playtesting shows, where again, if you know a publisher's coming, you can try to talk to them, set up a meeting to pitch your game. Then from there, again, you can do the beginning pitch of the, who are you, what are you doing, how do you win, and then having a sell sheet. So those would be the steps to meet the publisher, get your information across, get your game in front of them, and then go from there. If the publisher likes what they hear, then maybe schedule a time to sit down and play a game. And it's usually it won't be a full game, because depending on the show and the timing, usually a round or 2 or 3 depends on the type of game and the level of interest. Obviously, it's a little different than with an RPG. I don't know if you'd actually sit down and play a little. I don't think you would, right? Okay. So yeah.
I mean, maybe later on down the road, if there's interest, if it seems interesting enough after reading the white paper, after meeting you, and all of that, they would probably ask to play either online through Roll20 or get together at a convention and play it there. But it's usually just like a short one shot. At most, maybe 4 hours.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's the nicest though. But like if it's a short period of time, I would say like an hour.
Do you feel like you see new mechanics, or does it feel like people come in, I've got this amazing idea, and in the back of everything, that's only the 48th time I've seen it, but let's see what's been involved. Does it feel like every mechanic has been done?
I'm always surprised. When I first saw Jenga, I was like, it's 54 pieces of wood. Come on. It can't possibly be fun. And then you play it, and you think, oh, well, the next block's going to fall for sure, because it's this tall. And then 9 plays later, it's still standing, and the suspense, it's 54 pieces of wood. So, and it's one of the greatest games ever designed. So.
And then after that came Dread, and after that came Starcrossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, don't lead with, I've got the greatest mechanic ever. Don't lead with, this will kill Monopoly. Don't lead, nothing grandiose like that, because it's not going to be like that at all. Let the pitch it nicely, let the publisher decide if they like it or not. But never lead with a grandiose statement. That's just, you may just turn off the publisher completely.
One of the funniest pitches we got when I was at this game company was the person started with a story, and they said, when the play testers played this game, they wept. And I was like, is that supposed to be a good thing? It was so perfect and beautiful, they wept.
That's a great thing.
Okay.
Or maybe they wept because it was over. And they're like, oh. Yeah, don't.
Get to the play. It's fast and good.
Exactly. and there's also, my friends love it, my mother loves it and stuff. And there's always the argument, well, they're your friends, they would tell you what they really felt, or because they're your friends, of course, they're going to say they like it. And then, so, again, don't lead with things like that. Every time I take out the game, my friends just keep wanting to play it. That's fine, but they're your friends, that's nice of them. But don't do it.
What sort of thing are publishers looking for in a white paper?
So a white paper generally should have, so if we're thinking tabletop RPGs, the top part should have something like, this is what the summary of this game is about. Include theme, and then later on talk about mechanics, and I guess for tabletop RPGs, because theme is so important, put emphasis on theme, put emphasis on what the special mechanics are, and maybe like a quick run through of how to play it. but nothing too intensive. I would say like a white paper, the longest it should be is maybe like 2 or 3 pages.
Thank you.
And there is no white paper for board game. Board games or card games, you will have the actual design laid out and ready to be played if the publisher asks for it.
The sell sheet you were talking about before, what content is most important for you to see on the sell sheet?
You would have, so the maybe one picture of the prototype, you probably have the number of players, the game length, you might have a component breakdown, and you want to say like an intro paragraph into the world of the game, whatever the game's about, and then 1 or 2 paragraphs as to what you're doing in the game, who are you, what are you doing, how do you win, and maybe a bullet point why you think this game is cool and unique.
I think components is
1
really-
page, 1 sheet, 1 side.
Yeah, components is really important, just because like with different publishers, some publishers might not want to publish something that has like too many components. But it's also dependent on like, you know, who you're talking to.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, like some small publisher will say, this comes with 80 custom dice, I can't afford that. But if that same publisher also does Kickstarter, they go, well, I can put it up on Kickstarter and see what happens. So you have to know the publisher also because of the number of
You didn't mention like audience, target
Maybe 80.
demographics.
Well, that, yeah, I didn't say age, usually I say age range, but that's so nebulous. From your sell sheet, if you say, this is where we, jump on a grid and go 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna know that's for kids and not a strategy game. If you describe it properly, I'm gonna guess the ages it's gonna be, and it's gonna be either a strategy game that's probably, 12 and up, and then there's not much difference, either like 6 and under, adults only, and then everything else is for everybody else in between. So it's, for me, that's, not a bad case. If it's an adult only, obviously you specify that for whatever reason, bad words, innuendos, things like that. If it's kid only, again, the description will describe it, everything else is, it doesn't matter, 10, 12. It's not gonna make more sales.
If you do a video, should that be a leave behind summary, or is that the whole pitch? The pitch itself is the video.
Lead with the pitch first, and then send the video if they ask for it later on. So usually, the people that I talk to, they like videos, or the publishers I talk to, they like videos. We like videos as well, so that's why I try to say a video.
But not instead of an in-person pitch in addition to.
I would, if you can't meet them in person, you could probably send them like, fill out that form, like, fill out like a submission form. If they think that's cool, then go ahead and send them a video.
Usually on my form, if I like the initial pitch, and sometimes in the pitch, they'll send me a link to a video, or even the rules, or if not, and I like the pitch, then I'll ask, hey, can I look at the rules? And you say, hey, I have the rules, and by the way, I also happen to have a 5-minute video. Sure, yeah, I'll look at it and stuff. Yeah.
I would crash test your rules as well. Most of us learn games by being told how the game's played by the person that's teaching us the game. But when you're pitching a new game, obviously no one knows how it plays. So, write your rules out and then hand them to someone you know, and get your piece of paper and pencil out and shut your mouth. Because within 3 seconds, they'll turn to you and go, what do we do now? And you have to say, you've got to figure it out by reading the rules. And that'll make your rules able to be translated to someone when you're not in the room.
That's we call that blind testing. That's very important. That also should be part of your final design process. Again, Tim said you give it to a group and let them play. Either you're there or not, but you don't say anything, and let them read the rules themselves. Let them suss out the game themselves. Write down the sore points, the ambiguous points, whatever, and then you'll know what to work on for the next iteration. Absolutely. Because I've had many rules. I've had many prototypes where I went to sit down and play with a group and we could not make heads or tails of thing. And guess what? I put the game away. It doesn't get tested and you lost an opportunity potentially.
I played a game with an inventor and loved the game. And then later in the show, I saw 50, 70 more games. Asked for the game to be sent in. We went to play it, and I couldn't remember how it played. And we went to play it, and I'm like, it was good when they showed me. I can't figure it out. So the rules are really important.
Yes.
If that something that you play test in a venue like this? Like just going by, learning the game by giving somebody the rules if they're acceptable for that? Yeah?
Actually, over here, I learned the game with some people. I brought several games, and we looked through the rules together. I read the rules, and I said, all right, this is how I think we play. And constantly looking up the rules and make sure we got it right, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it feels like this is perfect for play testing or, development.
Well, I meant as far as not like explaining it, like learning it, like most primary people learn a game by being told. Could you just present the playtester the rules and say, here you go. Of course, my game's rules is probably a half an hour of reading, but that's a problem.
I think you need to let them know. By the way, if they're engaging in blind testing, you probably want to tell them that up front and say, hey, are you interested in blind testing? This means you're learning the rules yourselves.
Right.
I'm just going to observe.
Okay, blind testing.
Some people don't want to do that or don't like doing that.
Sure.
So
Right.
then make sure they know what they're in for. And it is an ask, especially if you're saying it's a 30-minute rule set. That's a big ask. I would make sure I feed them as a reward afterwards.
I got you.
But yeah, just make sure you get their okay out of that, because it could be a very frustrating experience. It is a lot of work. People don't realize it.
I haven't timed it on this. It's 5.5 days.
Anyone else?
I think it'd be a little intimidating pitching a game to you guys in general, worried that it might fail. Do you have another avenue you recommend for pitching a game, like a kind of a publisher light before we bring it to you? I mean, someone else that could probably do feedback maybe?
Well, are you worried about the immediate feedback being negative? Is that why?
No, I just mean that if, let's say I presented a game and there was mechanics that I didn't think about, my friends weren't willing to tell me why this would suck. I come to you and you say, this mechanic sucked. I can never bring this back to you, I would assume, because that mechanic sucked. If I changed that, would you view it again? Or would you just be like, go to the next person?
Sure.
Yeah, some companies would, yeah.
I mean, it depends on everything else that's going on in the game. If it's still of interest for whatever reason, they might. I don't know. It's very, I think in my experience though, I've looked at stuff where I liked the initial and I just had tweaks and little feedbacks or some balancing things. I don't remember ever turning down a mechanic completely and then saying, come back with a new game, because then it's a new game. Maybe, so I think there's one that's maybe outstanding where they made a game that had 2 layers to it, and I told them, get rid of one of the layers of the game, and then I looked at it again and I ended up publishing it. Because it just made it more convoluted and fiddly and longer, and so I said, you know what, this whole part is useless right now, give me something sleeker like this. But that's a tough thing. I don't think it happens very, very often because, again, the mechanic is the bones of the game, and if that doesn't work, then you've just got a whole new pitch.
One suggestion I would make that might tie into your question is, if you're a designer, it'd be nice to bring more than one game to a pitch meeting. Only because I once flew to Spin Master in Toronto and pitched something, and within 30 seconds they said, we've already seen something like this, we're not going to do it. And I was like, okay. And they go, what else you got? And I was like, I flew here to show you this. Sorry, you just wasted a flight. So if you're a designer and you have more than one idea, that's sort of, and you're worried about, oh, they may not like this. If they say, what's next? And you say, well, here's something, then they're going to be impressed by, oh, you had 5 solid games, maybe they're not for us, but you want to take that moment and grab it if you can.
But
And also feeling, like, if you're feeling intimidated talking to people or trying to pitch a game, meet them first at a convention. Origins is great, like, if you want to just catch them at their booth and just say, hey, like, this is me, do a quick introduction before, like, going into the pitch, like, setting a pitch meeting later. That sometimes helps, so.
well, and the 2 things, the multiple one, you just have to know also how much time you have. Usually I give 30-minute slots, And it's gonna take you probably 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to show me your first one. So yeah, if you have 6 or 7, you're not gonna be able to go through them all. But yes, having a little more extra, like 1 or 2 others, that would be good. The other way to do pitch meetings is a lot of conventions now have what's called publisher designer speed dating. And what you're doing is you sign up, you sit down at a table, all the designers sit down at a table, and then the publishers meet you, and you have about usually between 4 and 6 minutes. They tell you upfront how much it is, where you have that time to pitch to a person, and then when time's up, the publisher will get up, go to the next table, and so on and so forth. In that way, usually the publisher won't be able to say, this game sucks or this mechanic sucks. They're probably not going to say anything. They're just going to get up, make their own notes, they take a sell sheet, and they're going to move on somewhere else. So I think the intimidation factor would go down a little bit because you're really not expecting feedback during that session.
With what she was saying, I think what she might have been trying to go for is the idea of like having a way to test out a pitch without actually burning the bridge or making a bad impression with the publisher, kind of like testing the waters before you commit fully to it.
They answered my other question.
Well, I mean, you practice a pitch like you would practice a speech or something. I mean, don't spill hot tea on the publisher, maybe. Elbow the publisher. Right?
Just don't beat up the publisher.
Yeah, don't beat up the publisher. No, but generally, I mean, they're not going to say the mechanic sucks from the pitch because they're not playing the mechanic. They're not playing the game. If you actually have time and you're sitting and playing, and then the publisher says, no, you know what, I don't like this for whatever reason, that's something else. But usually in the pitch, they're just going to say, not for us, or yeah, there was something like it, or we're not looking for this at this time, or wow, that sounds cool, tell me more. I doubt you're going to get a major negative reaction to it based on the 5 minutes that you're talking about it.
So in my research in the game industry, almost every colossally big game was invented outside of the game company, all the way from Monopoly on. So these publishers want the game to be good. They're not out to like hurt someone's feelings or say this is stupid. They are actually on your side because they realize the next big thing is probably going to come from outside their doors. So.
And also with that, a lot of the time if a publisher feels like this is not for them right now, they can pass it along to another publisher and be like, hey, this might be a better fit this other publisher, and just try to boost up your game and try to give you advice on how to move forward with it.
How many games do you, or someone assesses games? You see a year, how many pitches do you hear, how many are considered, and then how many are published? Like what's the
Stats.
what's the filter?
Don't have stats.
I probably listen, and I might be conservative, I would say at least 1,000 a year.
Pitches,
Yeah.
not game ID, it's like actual.
Well, a pitch is a game by game to me. I'm talking pitch, play testing a design, whatever, going to a show, walking up, hey, that looks interesting, let me check that out. I'm probably at 1,000 or more. I go to a lot of shows, and I get a lot of pitches online through our web form.
And about how many are considered, meaning you start to work with the person, and then I'm sure not all of those are published, right?
Correct. You figure, well, I was telling you I did about 25 games last year or so, which is a lot, actually. Yeah, but now we're talking 25 out of, 1,000 or something like that. So, yeah, it's a small percentage.
If you want to fix a game that takes a little longer than normal to play, it's got to be obviously very compelling and very different as you move on to the game. And is that correct? Where they all have to be within a certain time frame.
No, I mean, again, if you set up a meeting with a publisher, I'm assuming, unless they tell you up front, they're usually giving you 20, 30 minutes of their time. You have that time to pitch. As I said, you won't be able to play it unless it's a short game, and then you can say, hey, I can show you quickly, it's a 5-10 minute game. Other than that, it's just going to be a pitch, and then they're going to say, all right, let me see something more. Usually, if I like something, either I'll ask for the prototype there or mail it to me, and then I'll test it with my group. In some cases, again, on shows like this and some other shows, sometimes we'll say, oh, you know what, you got free time in the evening or some other time during the show, let me sit down and play the game. So, you know.
My question, I want to angle it a little differently. If you have a game, well, I have a game, obviously, and it gets more compelling and more compelling and more compelling as you go along, and sometimes it can run longer than the normal hour or hour and a half.
Yeah, well, you want your pitch to describe why it's compelling.
Okay.
That's, you know, what is the strength of that game, you know, and otherwise we're not gonna know until obviously we play it. But, yeah, I will say this, if the game starts out very slow and whatnot, and even though you say, wait, it's coming, the good stuff's coming, I'm gonna say, why don't we just cut to the good stuff, so get rid of this chaff in the beginning, and start your game, you know, in media res, where it's like right in the middle of the action, and builds from the compelling point onwards.
Well, I also write music, and it's just like that, which is what you're explaining. It's got to be catchy right from the get-go,
Yeah, it's
and
gotta
then
be.
twists and turns, and I can't wait for the next thing. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll give one just quick example. So a couple times, so I've gotten pitches where, I played a game where on the first turn, and it's a very simple example, it'll say something like, okay, you start with no cards in the hand. On the first turn, draw 5 cards. Then do, you know, something card. So simply, why don't you just start with 5 cards? Why have an extra turn that says you have to draw your starting hand? Put that in the setup. Oh yeah, that's right, you just start there. So again, boom, just cut out that little rule, that little step, and so on. That's just a very, very simple example. But you can apply that to further in the game where, you know, why do all this boring build-up and then say getting to the last 20 minutes, right? And same thing, like I said, even a movie, right? It's like, oh, the last 15 minutes movie was great, but, you know, did I stay awake the, you know, hour and 45 minutes to get there? No, you want to cap it more.
It's a little different with role-playing
Yeah.
games, but on the role-playing game side, you could just go on forever.
Yeah. Well, it'd be more the people, right? I mean, is it more the social aspect that people make the role-playing experience good? And you just don't want it to be hindered by fiddly rules or something like that. But, yeah, it's a different experience, yeah.
It's very good.
Yes.
If you can leave them wanting more, that's better than boring them. Like the first 30 minutes is awesome, and then it starts to fade. It's kind of like you're better off wanting them to play a second time.
Use your Jenga example. If you take one piece out and it falls right away, that's not fun, right? You want that tension always there. That, you know, so this, again, the same thing you want to apply. Just get to the good stuff, keep it up that way. You know, you want to, like even a story, a board game. Usually, I mean, again, there are simple games and stuff, but you want to have an arc, right? Usually, a lot of games that build, you start out with no resources or very little resources. And then you start building up, you're getting resources, you're getting better stuff, you're building an engine, you know, oh, I do this thing, but now 3 things happen, and it rents, and then, you know, so on.
And actually, that's a pretty good practice on how to demo too. Because if you're on a show floor, if you're demoing a game, you don't want to demo like an entire worker placement or like for X game, right? You only want to focus on like a little piece of it. That way, you know, the potential customer would look at it and be like, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'll buy a copy.
So here's a trick: stack the deck. So put the cards that you want in the deck in the order you want when you're demoing. Because many times in a demo, you're like, so you draw a card. Oh well, pretend it's this, and that kind of ruins the pitch, right? So stack the deck so that when you demo it, the cards you want to come up so that it's the maximum effect. And it's fine that you do that for the pitch. You're not, you know, deceiving anyone because that could happen in the game. You just don't want to. I've had bettors pull a card and they go, "Oh, pretend it's not that." And it's like, "Oh, well, that's not the best."
Oh, or that's a difficult card. Wait, we can't use that yet. Let's try this one first. Yes, that's true. Good. So you know how to approach a publisher. You know what to say to a publisher. Anything else?
Oh, one thing, every publisher has a different submission process. So if you go on their website and they have a form and they say, any new games, you need to fill out this form, do that. Don't approach them at a trade show and try to get around that. You should follow each publisher's submission process, especially if they list it on their website, because they get annoyed if you try to circumvent that because they put it on their website for a reason.
is there a phase of negotiation? You submitted your game and it's, some version of it is attractive to a particular publisher. How do you get to yes? How do you get to, is it a contract or a deal? What is that process?
It's usually a contract, so some companies would offer in advance and a percentage and royalties. And every company has a different range in advance fees or royalties.
Just know you're not gonna be able to negotiate too much. They're usually the publisher, especially if you're gonna say, this is what we get. You know, this is the way, it is what it is, correct?
What sort of range of revenue, or, you know, the portion of the revenue that the publisher is going to get might be reasonable to anticipate?
You mean the designer?
The designer.
Designers,
The
gonna
designer,
get,
the publisher,
I'll tell you right now, usually beginning designers, we give 5% of wholesale cost, the monies we get.
And I guess, you know, obviously no specifics about any particular, whatever, but there are people that are published by companies that you guys are involved with, or participate with. What do people make? You know, what is their revenue? I mean, if you get into, I know people are in the mystery writers world, and the average mystery writer is married to someone with an income. So it's challenging. You know, how does that work for game design?
Same thing, I mean, getting royalties, it depends on the success of the game. And generally, you're gonna, unless you get very, very lucky, you're making money by being a designer by trade, which means you have multiple designs, and you're collecting multiple royalties, and that added together makes hopefully a decent salary.
So our hope is someone chooses our game, becomes our publisher, and then has faith in that designer's potentiality to produce multiple products. And then, or do you end up with different publishers for each product?
You can, you can, sure.
It's not like the old Hollywood system where I've never heard of a designer that gets locked up by a company. They're all pitching multiple companies.
That'd be really problematic if someone had like a contract that was like, you're only publishing, or you're only working with us forever now.
But there are designers who will work with a single publisher if the relationship is good. Again, you're not locked into it. There's no contract that says you can only work for us. That does not.
Well, that is another reason why I said if you're a designer and you love to design and you're not necessarily wanting to ship and collect money from stores and all that, it's passive income, right? So if you license a game and you get 5%, they're taking the risk, they're warehousing, and you get passive income, and you can now create your next game. So the beauty of trying to come up with multiple games and not focusing just on one is having a career.
Does the mechanism for the publishing companies, is the mechanism for you guys to have a whole bunch of acceptably performing games, or is it the outrageous standout game, the one of 25 a year, the one of 50 in multiple years, that really makes the business work, and the rest of the games are where those standouts come from?
And every company is different. Overhead is probably the biggest factor. The size of the company, right, number of employees, offices. You know, some companies, and I guess this also is like Hollywood, right? Why independent movies were big way back, I guess 80s or 90s or whatever, where it was Hollywood would say, what, this movie made $20 million? Psh, that's chump change. We don't have, it costs us, $50 million to make a $20 million movie. So same thing, there are publishers that say, you know, making $5,000 on a game, it costs us much more in resources to do something like that. So everyone's need would be much different, depending on the size of the company.
So Educational Insights is a company that makes one of my games, and they're happy to sell 20,000 units a year. Hasbro would never carry a game that sold 20,000 units. It wouldn't even make their line. A smaller company would love to have a game that sells 20,000 units. So it depends on what game company you're talking about and how big they are and what market they're in.
I think to piggyback off of that as well, there are careers outside of just game design, right? If you wanted to, say, go to a publisher and ask if they wanted, a contracted developer or a contracted writer or a contracted artist, then you can definitely make a living doing like some freelance stuff.
I have good friend named David Yakos. He's in Montana, and he said last year he made more money in options, and a lot of the stuff never got produced, but he was able to option a lot of things, which is another testament to doing multiple, creating multiple games. Because it is a numbers game. There's a friend of mine named Peggy Brown, who's a great designer. She's so prolific, it's outrageous. But she'll pitch 20 games at a trade show. Like that was saying, you don't have that time. She's a known commodity. So once you get known, they'll give her more time because they know the next thing she pulls out of her suitcase is going to be as good as the first. But as a new designer, you're going to have 20 minutes, so you want to show your best things first.
And also, I'll say that it only Hasbro, Mattel, Spin Master, they'll pay for an option for design. The other publishers in the hobby industry, we would not pay for an option to hold the design. That's not something we can afford to do.
Is board gaming a worldwide market now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's still compared to movies, music, video games, it's still a much lower revenue entertainment media.
Some people say that board games save Barnes & Noble because you can't download a board game. You can download a book. If you notice, their books are shrinking and the board game section of Barnes & Noble is growing, and Borders didn't make that change and they went out of business. So board games are in a definite renaissance.
Variant on his question, but you were going to ask too, I don't know.
That's right. Thank you. If you have two board games, one would be more for adults, one would be more maybe for younger crowd, would you submit both? Because it's really the same game, only very much different ages. So it's like a teenager really couldn't play the adult version, or because
That's another publisher too, because some publishers don't really publish kids games.
okay.
I think it depends, yeah.
I know so I published Pandemic and Forbidden Desert, I think, or was Forbidden Island, I forgot which one was first. Island, so that was quoted as like Pandemic Light, but that went to a children's company or a game writer for a younger audience. They didn't go back to Z-Man to do it, he pushed it with another company. So in that way, even though it had a different name and everything, it was one of those things, if you can't play Pandemic, then try Forbidden Island. It has the similar features and tension and so on, but much easier to grasp. But yeah, I think that's usually with different publishers, unless that publisher spanned all those ages.
I guess I was going to say, a small question. Is there an interest in games where the mechanism works in other languages? Is that a big advantage, or does it not matter that much? Like some games.
A mechanism is a mechanism. What do you mean?
Some games may be easier to translate than others, or you could have a game that was based on puns or something that literally you couldn't translate. Like how big is that?
Well, you're talking text, so it's not mechanics. You're talking about is it a language independent game or mostly language independent? I mean, it can help, but nowadays when people translate and do what's needed to make it work. I think probably in the aughts there was a bigger push towards language independence. I assume with an RPG, I'm assuming you can do that because it is all text pretty much. But it's like you couldn't say, no, I'm making this book all iconic so it can be across all languages.
Yeah.
You would have to translate. Where in many board games, there are many aspects of it you don't have to translate because it's the iconography is there and so on and so forth. But I don't think there's a push to making sure a board game is strictly language independent. So you don't have to focus on that. And again, there are games that even though might do well in North America, may not do well in Europe or Asia because of theme, type of game, and so on. There's so many factors that I don't think that's something you should worry about as well.
Okay, I guess that's where we're gonna end it for today then. So they're gonna be around today and tomorrow, so you can go, maybe sit at the table and watch them play. And it might be helpful to kind of watch them interact and see some of the questions and things that they pay attention to. In any case, enjoy the rest of the conference. We hope to see you guys around. Thank you so much. And the gaming back at Ross Exhibition Hall goes for another couple of hours. You're welcome to go over there. If you want to get some dinner, come on back. Whatever you want to do, and I'm happy to sign forms if you need them.
Oh, I have to check this.